Hello, and welcome to Light Up Your Life with Kathleen Seals and Jonathan Seals. We are here to share some of our experiences and education in the space of personal growth and development, as well as mindset, education. We're both educators, and pretty much anything that we have found, sales as well, of course, and anything that we've found along the way that would serve this community. So this is my husband, Jonathan Seals.
Hello.
Hello, Jonathan.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So today what our topic is the learning process, because having both been educators, we've both experienced the learning process quite a bit, and taking people from knowing absolutely nothing to, in some cases, becoming experts themselves. And there's definitely a process to understand, because once you understand it, it changes everything for you. It changes your mindset about it. It changes your tenacity. It changes your goals, your vision.
Yes.
It really does.
It's so true, isn't it? Especially because many of us don't learn new things too often, especially the older that we get, and we find ourselves often teaching things either to our children or to imparting knowledge on other people. But learning something brand new is kind of out of our wheelhouse when we get to a certain age. Very foreign.
Very foreign. And even before I was at Arthur Murray, before we taught dancing, I sold cell phones. I was a manager for Best Buy. And we realized that they taught me that the last time someone learned something new was probably when they were in college. So most of the people who were buying new cell phones were in their 40s, 50s, 60s, sometimes older. And the last time they learned something new was probably when they were in school. So that's a very long time. And the only thing that they ever have to learn new is technology, and it's always like a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you used to work in an office, right before all of this, if anyone has worked in an office, you know that you get upgraded a computer every once in a while, and you have to learn all new software. And it's so aggravating, because it's just, you're changing the pace of something that we already know. I was already comfortable with it. I had a learning curve at the beginning and it sucked, and now I got it. And now I have to learn this new dang technology again. So it has that connotation.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one. Truly, because I didn't have to deal with computers very much while being a dance instructor. So when I do what we're doing now, having learned how to use them again, it was challenging. It was very challenging.
Very.
If I didn't know the learning process, understand it, I think I would have really gotten ticked off. It'd probably be like a lot of people that we're talking to right now.
Yeah.
Who are starting their own businesses online, who are changing their life and trying something different, getting out of the office. Some businesses, period, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even have a chance to be open anymore as a brick and mortar. So they have to be open online. So they have to learn this new information.
Right. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I do know that a lot of times with technology, you let it get the best of you, or you have in the past anyway. We don't do that now, but up until now,
she keeps saying that, but I almost broke the phone yesterday, tapping at it. So it would do what I asked it to do.
Yeah, but you were, so I did notice this though, with the technology as far as creating the funnels for the business and working on different things like that, you really were very receptive and open to it, which I guess goes along with the fact that you knew you were learning something new instead of this phone is just supposed to work.
Yes.
And that's something that we discovered when we were selling cell phones, is that people just have this expectation, this thing should just work. And it's that, we live in that society where we're all so immediate, like it's instant gratification. Everything happens right now, right? And we watched a comedian not too long ago that said to that effect, like everything we require in this society is like right now. I want it in my hand. Saying, like, if you order it from Amazon, I put it in my hand now. Get it here before I think about it. Like,
I want you to break into my house while I'm asleep and put it in my hand. Yeah. We are a society,
right?
And because we desire something so quickly.
Well, and you can get it so quickly.
You can. And Amazon the same day now,
Yeah, same day. You can get anything you want on TV. You don't have to wait.
It's on demand.
My son found a tape a couple tapes that were my favorite movie as a kid, and I actually had bootlegged them off of CBS when it aired, and I used to watch those. So I would fast forward through the commercials, and then at the end of the tape, you have to rewind it. That to him is just like
forever long.
This is I don't want to
just to rewind the tape. It's so funny. He's 2, you know.
Yeah, well, and then
but regardless, I mean, if he was 22, he probably still wouldn't want to rewind the tape.
Why?
You know, it is interesting. We're talking about the stages of learning and development. Just touch on that one more time, because this is, I haven't really thought about it as much, especially with what's going on in the world. How many people are probably very aggravated and very discouraged and very how should I say, they're becoming stuck.
Well, because they have to learn
they
something
can't
new.
get past the learning process.
Yeah, because everything last year was something new for all of us, right? None of us had been quarantined for a year before, or even 9 months, right? None of us, and that's brand new. So we're all going through new things, but on the bigger scale, businesses had to completely change their model of the way they ran their business. Their entire business model had to change. People had to learn new technology that they may not have wanted to. They were kind of resistant to.
Zoom.
Yeah, everyone in the world knows Zoom now, right? But there were a lot of things that changed and forced growth. But I think a lot of frustration came from that because there wasn't an understanding. And so the first thing I want to say is that awareness is everything. When you are aware of something, it alleviates that aggravation. I'm just using a lot of alliteration.
It's true. It's true. When you become aware of something, all of a sudden you go, huh, that makes sense. And then now it's normal.
Yeah. And now you understand, okay, that's supposed to happen. And this is something that as teachers, and especially myself, because I worked solely with brand new students, was helping them understand how they were going to learn how to dance. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, you don't just learn a skill, you learn how to learn the skill.
Yes.
Because that's so important. We don't know necessarily all the ins and outs of how that learning goes.
Right.
And for every skill, it's different. For instance, building a website. Well, you start with a template and then you start to fiddle with stuff. Okay, great. That helps to know I don't have to come up with it myself. If you know the order of operations and the way things go, you just feel better. You know what's coming. It's not a shock. People don't like to be surprised, especially with things that are uncomfortable, and learning is uncomfortable because you look silly. You don't look the best you could possibly look. And people, right, especially now, we always want to look our best.
Yeah. And not just that, but when something's not working, something's not going the way you want it to go, or it's confusing and it doesn't make sense to you, it's very aggravating.
And you don't know if it's like never going to work.
Yeah,
it's not
and it's
discouraging. You know, like, but if you do know the process, you know, oh, it's supposed to be like this.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, that's regular.
For example, when I was making the funnel, the reason why I was more comfortable with it is because I understood that there were going to be hiccups. I understood that if I didn't place things in the right spaces, if I didn't have it on the right size, then it wasn't going to show up properly. You know, so I knew that was the case. So when it happened to me, I went, oh, okay, I can fix this. But if I had no idea that was going to happen, if I had no clue that there were going to be hiccups whatsoever like that, as soon as it happened, I'm sure I would have shut down. Yeah. And got upset and said, someone else do this. I'll pay somebody to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to figure this out. It's easy to get aggressive with yourself, especially when you don't understand that there is a learning process.
And it's a skill you're developing. It's not just a tool you're learning to use. It's a skill that you are developing that you will have for life. And that's the thing I think a lot of us forget too. When you hold a tool, the tool can go away. But the skill that allows you to use the tool, or any tool like that, never goes away.
Exactly.
And that's really important to remember. So when we're going through the struggles of the learning process, which we'll get to in just a second, how all the phases work. And we'll talk about 2 different models that people understand. But when you're going through those struggles, when you have that hard time, it's easy to say, okay, I know there's at least a light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's supposed to be like this right now. I'm going through a struggle. It's important that I go through this because I'm going to come out on the other end, and this isn't going to be as hard next time.
Exactly.
And every time it'll get easier.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So I guess let's jump into the stages of learning. We're going to talk about the 4 stages of learning, and then also the competency wheel.
Yes. Yeah. So the way that I learned it was that there are 4 stages, and there's an initial stage. And that is when you very first introduced to whatever you're doing that's brand new.
Mhm.
So let's say you want to learn a skill. You want to know how to play the guitar, right? Then you're first introduced to the guitar. What's the first thing you have to do? To pick it up,
Mhm.
got to hold it. It might be good at that moment in time to learn all the different parts of the guitar. Maybe the chords, perhaps.
Yeah.
Get familiar with the instrument that you're playing. That's the
Yeah.
initial stage.
Yeah.
And the truth
And
is,
there's an initial stage at every stage of
Right.
learning. Like it may
Right.
not be because you're brand new at guitar. It may be the initial stage of you learning a new song. So
Right.
you're always going to repeat through the learning process. It's not just when you're brand new baby at something.
that's important.
It's important to
It's very
remember.
important to remember because the stages of learning continue. It's like a circle of energy. It's a revolving door. It just keeps moving forward. So as soon as you feel like you got something, anytime something new comes to you,
Something new.
anything new comes to you,
You go through,
You
it,
go
again.
through it again.
Back
And
to the bottom. You're not an expert
when
yet.
we were ballroom dance instructors, our students would get so frustrated because they would have something and would feel really, really good. And we would say, okay, now that you got that, let's try this. They go, oh man, I just got that. Because they knew they had to start again from the beginning. The
Yeah.
initial stage had to start again.
Struggle again.
Exactly. But I just got it. Well, you're going to keep
Yeah.
that. It's a skill you have now. Now apply that same skill to the new things so you
We're gonna
can
upgrade.
grow.
Yeah.
If you don't go through the process consistently, then it's basically like building a house with bricks. You got to layer a brick each time.
Mhm.
So if you decide that you don't want to go the initial stage again with something new, well, you're out of bricks.
Yeah. You're done.
You're done.
You built a grill.
Exactly.
Not a house.
So
Yeah.
that's the initial stage when
Right.
you're very first introduced to
Introduction,
something.
yeah.
And then the second one is one of my favorite stages to be in, the awkward stage.
Yeah.
The awkward stage is fantastic. I'm gonna say one thing, I'm passing back to you, Kathleen. The reason why I love this stage so much is because when you step into this stage, this uncomfortable, awkward stage, you instantly begin growing. Instantly.
Mhm.
The initial stage is like planting a seed in the ground. But the awkward stage
I like that.
is the watering. That's when the seed begins to get fed and it starts to begin to want to grow and push through into the soil and finally take root and then come out alive in the world.
Looking like this.
Exactly. Right,
Right?
right,
It
right.
doesn't look like the tree
Yeah,
yet.
of course not. Of course not. But the awkward stage, for most people, they don't think of it as the fun part. And I know that. I talked to a lot of people who said that it's so awkward. It feels so weird. However, you
Yeah.
gotta go through it. You gotta go through the rough times. If you're not uncomfortable, if you're not pushing the boundaries and trying something new in that awkward stage, you're not growing.
True.
Flat out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that awkward stage is, I mean, it's really you leaving your comfort zone.
Mhm.
It's going into something new. So, I mean, let's take walking. Babies, when they're learning how to walk, right? It's really awkward looking. And I use that as an example just because it's so easy to picture, right? When I was building my first funnel, my awkward stage was when I got to this point where I thought I had it all put together and I thought I had my domain map to it. And I go to the page and it looks like it was designed in 1998. It has like one big picture here, some tiny little text, the white background, which was not how it was designed. Like these little random links. I took a screenshot of it because it was just so funny and it made
Like
me want to
MySpace?
cry at the same time. No, way
No way.
worse. Before MySpace, and way before. It was like, I'll actually try and find a picture and post it in here so you can see. It was hysterical, but it also really did make me want to cry at the same time because I just wanted it done. But I had to like really enjoy that moment because those are the growing pains. Those are
Yeah.
the times where it really doesn't feel good to do it. And it feels, I mean, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
That's why it's
It doesn't.
awkward.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
teenage years, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't feel good to
We-
be a teenager.
We were taught to when our students were in the awkward stage to not ever ask, does that feel good? How does that feel? We would just say, okay, does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah.
And then they would say, am I doing it right? No, well, not quite. We're getting there.
Yeah, on the way.
Yes. So we made sure that they
And it's
understood.
not about getting it right.
It's not about getting it right.
Progress.
Exactly. It's
In
about
that phase, it's all about progress.
yeah, and perseverance, about
Yeah.
pushing through. And the awkward stage, you're gonna be there for a little while. And the crazy part is that you're actually not there as long as you think you are.
It just feels like
It
it.
feels like it.
feels like it.
It really does.
But
But you're not there as long
you
as you think you
can
are.
get out faster by doing it more. It sounds so crazy and you don't want to do it more, but the more repetition you have, the easier you get out of each phase. Each time we go up a stage, the more repetitions,
Yeah.
the faster you move, the easier it gets, the more the awkwardness goes away, and you start to move up into the
Yeah.
next phase.
Just like anything in life, right? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you do it more of it, you're going to get to your goal faster.
Think of it this way too, like, so a lot of it, we're going to talk about tech today too, because I know that's where so many of us struggle. In the awkward use stage, it's when you don't even know where to find the things that they say. Like, you have to go to like edit the SEO, the search engine optimization, but you don't even know where to find it. So you have to figure out where that is. Like, everything is so awkward. It's not completely foreign, but it's just like you feel bumbling as you move through the technology, and you don't even know like where you're going or what you're doing, and you're just trying to like breathe.
Right.
Breathe through it. Find
Exactly.
a tutorial video or read a blog about it, something.
So if
Yeah.
you are there in the awkward stage, good for you.
Yeah.
That means you're
Celebrate
moving
it.
forward. Yes.
You're not just brand new introduced to it. You're not in the initial stage. Yay.
Yes.
And you can move up. So
yes. There's
deal
hope
with it. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
So there's the initial stage, the awkward stage, and then there comes the conscious stage. The conscious stage, it's a bit of a fun one. For me, personally, I feel it's not as fun as the awkward stage, because once I'm conscious, now I know when I'm doing something wrong. Or right. So when you're in the conscious stage, you know when things are going the right direction and when they're not. So you are consciously aware. For example, in ballroom dancing, if a student was in the conscious stage, they would say something to the effect of, "Oh, I didn't keep my head to the left when I was shaping accordingly," or they would say something to the effect of, "I didn't take a heel lead," or "I didn't, put my Cuban motion into my body when I was supposed to." And I would say, "Correct." But now you know it, so you have to do it.
Mhm.
Now you're held accountable. When you're in the awkward stage, you get to bumble through a little bit. So anyone who's helping you, any coaches you're with, they're kind of going, "Okay, I'm going to hold your hand." But once you're
Yeah.
conscious,
Yeah.
it's up to you at this point.
Yeah.
You have to do it. It's a great place to be. It's wonderful because you are so close to the next stage, but still, it's kind of difficult in the conscious stage.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. And it's so funny that you explained it that way, because I think of it like in not a completely different way, but definitely different explanation, I guess. So your explanation of consciousness was more of like how you're performing. My understanding was, and not that they're either right or wrong, they're probably both right and wrong. But my understanding was that you don't necessarily feel weird anymore, but you have to think in order to make it happen. It's like when you're learning a language and you have to think in the language before you speak in it, or you have to speak in it but with thought process. It's not just coming out of your mouth. You have to process it first. You go in your first language and then you think, okay, what is it? Okay, it's this. And then you speak it, and it doesn't come out wrong because you're not awkward anymore. You know how to speak it properly. But there's like a step in the middle between your brain and your mouth that you need this processing time. So with dance, to think about it, make it happen, you have to say something in order to make it, you're repeating back what I'm supposed to be doing, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I can't just do it.
Right.
I have to think in order for it to happen. So that was my understanding of conscious phase.
I like that, because I guess that's why in a sense it kind of frustrated me to be in that conscious stage, because I knew what I wanted to say. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how to do it. But it took that time to process it, and it didn't always come out the way I wanted it to. Sometimes it would come out all bumbly still, and I'm like, but I know this now. I'm aware. I'm conscious. I can do this. And that was the frustrating part, I think, for me through dance, and even public speaking, even. But I guess in the sense, I like how you put that.
Yeah, because the man would say I'm supposed to lift my hand. I'm not lifting it. They're not actually physically doing the thing that they know I'm supposed to.
Brain, make it work.
Exactly.
And for me, I guess in my sense, that for me it's more frustrating because when you're in the awkward stage, you just sort of practice. You just go through. There's no wrong you can make. There's no wrong. You
could.
But
bad habits.
You could. But I mean, let's feel like this. In the awkward stage, it's like a toddler.
Yeah.
They don't know any better.
Right.
Right. But then once they turn 6, 7, they know better. Yeah. And now they're held responsible for what they know better about.
Exactly.
So it's a little more responsibility in that way, which is great because you need that.
Yeah, because you're trying to become the next level, which is natural
use.
And that's if you were to go to another country, you wouldn't need a translator. You'd just be able to speak the other language.
Mhm.
You wouldn't need the crutch, basically. You wouldn't need processing time. You could just speak to someone fluently.
Right. If you're a chef and you're cooking, now you don't even remember how
You
to
don't think about the recipe.
Yeah, the recipe not in your head anymore. Somebody asks you, how'd you do that? You say, I don't know. I just put them together.
Actually, no. Yeah,
Exactly. You know, it's one of those things where in ballroom dancing, they would ask something to the effect of, how you do a twist turn? You do it. All right.
Right. That's
okay.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Right.
But
And I will say usually, so we have to go through these phases.
yes.
There's no option of like skipping
At all.
one and like, oh, I'm just going to go from introduction to natural. No, you have to go through them, whether it's short-lived or long. Like it has to happen at some point, because that's how your brain processes things, your subconscious mind.
Even people who are naturals have to go through it.
Exactly.
Even
That's what I was gonna
if
say.
you're a savant of some kind,
Exactly.
people think you're perfect.
You
You're
didn't
not.
start there.
You didn't start there.
Nobody starts
Yeah,
there.
you
Like,
still
you
have
really
to. Go
Don't
through the stages.
literally start walking. No child walks up to a piano and just plays Rachmaninoff. They can't, because they don't know the notes
Exactly.
yet. They have to hear it at least.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody somewhere can do that. But
Quote
it's
unquote naturals
very-
just seem to go through the process faster.
yeah. And because they're repeating it so often, usually it comes with passion. Natural comes with passion a lot, because
Mhm.
when you're passionate about something, you can't stop doing it. You're just so stinking excited. I mean, even just think of a teenage boy with car magazines, just staring at them all day long. They become natural at pointing out where they are
Mhm.
and noticing every single kind of car on the road. It be just because of sheer volume of repetition. And that's where you get the talented people, or people who are far removed from a learning process. The challenge is then, are they ready to become an educator, or are they
Yeah.
just going to be really good at their craft? And that's a choice. That's a preference.
let's-
whatever you want.
Delve a little deeper into this natural stage, because I think
yeah, for sure.
I think it's important, because after this we talk about kind of how to
And I want to share the other style too,
Yes,
to
yes,
explain these
yes.
before we get there. Yeah.
before we start navigating how to go through the learning process.
Mhm.
But the natural stage is a beautiful place for most people, because it's the first time they really feel like they have it. They can breathe.
Effortless.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's easy, it's natural,
This
it's
is fun,
comfortable.
finally.
And that's the crazy part, because once it becomes natural and it does become comfortable, that's when you stop growing.
It is.
That's when everything
Totally.
drops down.
Totally.
So, and that's the scary place. That's the crazy part, right? So
the
when
comfort zone.
the comfort zone,
Mhm.
and it's great to be natural, because when we see people that we want to emulate, we see people that we look up to.
They're
we
natural.
see the Gary V's, the Dean Graziosis, we see the Nick Unsworths, right? Like, they're so natural. It just comes in so easy. Oh my gosh, how did they do that? And they'll tell you years of experience.
Yeah.
However, when we hear
Don't
years of
say it.
experience, we don't think, yeah, it's going to take me years too. We think, I want to be like that. I want what they have.
And we think years of experience being this awesome.
Yes. No.
It's not
Years of
real.
experience going through the
Stinking.
process.
Yeah, you should see
Being
the early
horrible.
stuff, right? And the fun part is, I think, for things like, dance is really fun. Even the things that we do here, if you go back to people's first podcasts, you'll see a stark difference between the first podcast they do and their most recent podcast, because they have to grow and develop
Yeah.
and become better interviewers or better speakers or whatever, with more repetition.
Who was it? Elise Dharma, who
Mm.
who started
Yeah.
her first show in her pajamas, in
Yeah.
her Snuggie, in her bedroom, with the lights out and just her phone, and just talking about her day. That was the
She's
first
so
thing
funny.
she ever
She
did.
a review of herself, and she was
Yes.
like, I don't know what this Elise was thinking.
Hilarious.
She's funny.
But you look at her now, and the
Yeah.
woman's on fire. Everything looks like it's so easy for her to do. And
Even my client,
Mhm.
Catherine, she just started a YouTube channel. She's an actress and she's on the Dharma Man videos. She started a YouTube channel to show some of her early acting audition videos, because it's fun to look back. 'Cause
Yeah.
people see her now and they're like, I love her. She's so great. And you look back and you realize, you have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
We all do.
yeah, it's great. And
It's fun.
so
It's more fun looking back than it is being in it.
yes, it really is so much fun looking back.
You're like, oh, thank goodness I got better from there.
Yeah, right.
Students would say that all the time to me. And this is something that I do want to ask you. If there were a way at the beginning stage for you to record yourself stinking, sucking, whatever you want to call it, if there's a way for you to do that, and later you could watch it would you? And because we used to have students in the studio and they would be sitting there with me, they'd maybe been there a month or so. And so they knew a heck of a lot more than they did on day one. And they would see brand new day one people. And they're like, oh my gosh, we used to look like that. We were worse though. And they're like talking to each other. We were way worse than them. They look so good, but we used to look like that when we started. And I would ask them time and time again, yes, isn't that so crazy? Wouldn't you wish you could watch a video of you now? And they would say, yes. And I say, what if I asked you then? What could I have said in that moment when you first took your first lesson to let me take a video of it? Nothing. There's nothing you could have said at all. But now that they got comfortable with it, they realized, oh, I wasn't going to be that bad forever.
It's funny, right? How
That's
that works
crazy.
out.
Perspective.
So just a quick review about that. The initial stage, the awkward stage, the conscious stage, and the natural use stage.
Yes.
So that's one way of looking at it.
Yes.
There's a second way as well.
There's the competency wheel, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, and that starts with unconscious incompetence, meaning you don't even know that the thing exists. Let's use riding a bike, right? My son did not know that a bike exists until he saw a bike. Then he was consciously incompetent of riding the bike. He was aware there was a bike and not able to do it. He's aware that there is the thing that he wants to do and aware that he cannot do it. So that's the conscious incompetence. So first is unconscious incompetence. You don't know you're not good because you may not know it exists, or you may just not know you're not good. American Idol auditioners, right? They don't know they're not good.
Yeah.
People don't tell them. Their
That's
mom
true.
said you're great. So, well, I love your mom too, but she's the only one paying for the tickets. So then we have so that's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence. Then we move up to conscious competence. And this is like that awkward or the conscious stage where you're consciously competent of the thing. That means you have to think in order for it to happen properly. There's still effort put into it. And then finally, you have the unconscious competence. And that's the same as we talked about with the natural use stage. So they very much mirror each other. They just have different ways to describe it. But I know a lot of people have heard that. So I just wanted to reference it in case you're one of them. And that's where your reference point is. But yeah, now to move forward and give you tips and tricks on how to
navigate this.
Like it.
Yeah. To navigate
put the right
this.
mindset in place all the time.
All the time.
Really, it will permeate your life. You'll notice that it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to notice that it's everywhere, you'll notice that it's everywhere.
Yeah. And it's more calming when you do.
Yeah.
One of the things that we learned early on when it came to teaching people how to dance is that it is something that most people do not do, right? And because of that, they want to learn it. And when they come to learn to dance, they are really nervous about looking awkward and feeling awkward. And we know that's the first thing that's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
So it's better that we explain to them the process and what they're going to go through and what they're going to experience at each stage
ahead of time
before they even come back for their next lesson. So that way they know there's a process in which they're going to learn, and they're also going to be taken care of in this process. Now they're aware and they're more comfortable.
Right. And let's say the same thing. So most of us here are entrepreneurs. So we're starting businesses, or you already have a business, but let's say you're launching your business. You will go through these stages and it will not be pretty, because especially at the very initial stage and the awkward stage, you're not getting results. You're not getting, like, you may get something here and there. Like with dancing, we would say you can dance to the song. Is it comfortable and fun yet? I mean, maybe because there's music on, but it's not where you want to be. Same thing with the business. Are you still helping some people? Of course, you're probably helping 1 or 2 people, maybe 5 or 10, but is it where you want to be? Is it hundreds? Is it thousands? No, of course not, because you're not there yet. You're not at that stage where you can be natural in front of hundreds or thousands of people.
Right.
You can be comfortable maybe in front of one person, maybe not. Maybe it's still awkward one-to-one, and that's okay. So to understand that in the business realm, know that the first few months are going to be awkward. Maybe the first couple years of your first business, it's going to be awkward. You don't know what's going on. You might be really confused. You might be in the conscious stage, but you will definitely go through those stages when you're launching a business.
Yes.
Podcast,
Guaranteed.
Instagram. Go back to the beginning of my Instagram. Holy moly, what was I thinking? There's just like everywhere. I didn't have a purpose, but I didn't know. I was unconsciously incompetent at Instagram. Actually, probably conscious.
And what's important to know is that in the initial stage, that is where you get a chance to experiment, to try to see what you want to do, to decide kind of what you like. We tell our students all the time in ballroom dancing that you have an opportunity now to try cha-cha, rumba, swing, mambo, and just give it a try.
Yeah.
Check it out. See if you like it. See if it fits you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like trying on clothes.
Right.
Is it right style for you?
So if it's business and, people are saying things like, you got to get a podcast or, you got to do a webinar and you got to do a challenge and you've got to, do a summit. Okay. Well, look into that. Get a feel for it. Start join some summits that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Go to get some webinars and just look into it and see if you like that. Consume first.
Become a consumer of the thing that is being recommended to you, because if you don't buy into it, if it's not your jam, you're not going to sell it well.
Exactly.
You're not going to put it on well. If we didn't love dancing, we would not have been good teachers at all. So absolutely consume the material that you think you want to put out first, because again, if you've never attended a webinar, you will not run a good webinar, because you don't even know how it's formatted. You don't know what it feels like from the buyer's side. And there's nothing worse than someone trying to sell to someone and they're not in the buyer's head.
Exactly.
You have to be in your customer's head.
Yeah.
And really like in their skin, like feel the feelings they're feeling, so that you can avoid upsetting them and help them in the ways that they want to be helped.
Exactly. So that enjoy that stage, enjoy that first part, because it is a door opener for so many things.
And try stuff on.
Yeah.
Be exploratory. Like just try it. There's no harm in attending a virtual summit. There's no harm in watching a couple webinars, Yeah.
And funny thing is, she and I are at two different stages when it comes to this. Kathleen's been doing this a lot longer than I have. I'm along for the ride right now.
Baby.
Yes. And I
had a lot of webinars.
So recently I walked to her and I said, I probably should join some summits, even if you don't join them. So I want to do a summit. She goes, yeah, because I'm the initial stage, but she's not there. She's far beyond that. You know what I mean? She's headed all the way toward the Natural Use coming up. Very soon. So with that being said, enjoy that first part. Instead of looking at it like I don't know where to start, look at it like I have so many places to start. Let me try this first, and just pick one. Just say, you know what? Let me start anywhere. Take the tiniest step you possibly can take.
Yes. The first thing, what is right in front of you. And they say that, your best curriculum is literally what lies in front of you right there, right now. Do that. And then the next thing and the next thing. Yes. And we'll talk about all that too.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then the conscious stage, we call it, you call it the
conscious competency.
Conscious competency. Mm-hmm. So in the awkward stage, I'm getting ahead of myself. In the awkward stage, this is kind of where you've kind of chosen where you wanted to go, especially in your business.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
For example, in our situation, we decided, okay, we're going to do a challenge first. We were all geared up. We did our challenge. We had a good time. It was so much fun. We got into it. And at the end of the challenge, Kathleen thought, well, maybe I'm going to try something a little bit different. Now that I've done this, I think I want to apply what I've learned and put it into something else that I want to do. Mm-hmm. I said, girl, go for it. Because I don't know if I wanted to do the challenge necessarily like that again. I do want to do a challenge again, but I really want to do a summit. I'm kind of fired up about that.
Fired up about the summit.
I'm super excited about it.
I am not.
Not at all, right?
So if you can run with that, my goodness, please.
Yeah, which is great. And because I now have gone through that stage, I went through the awkward stage of going into the challenge and trying it out. And I thought, well, I'm sure summit, I can work that too. The confidence is now there. I've taken the first step.
Exactly.
So now I can choose where my focus should lie. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting because now I know I'm going to bumble. I know it's going to be challenging. I know that I'm going to ups and downs. However, I also know that I've got a focus. I've got something that I know I can accomplish if I just keep heading in that direction. And that's peace of mind. Totally.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's the awkward stage in that case. Think of it like that. When you get to that place, feel that way. Yeah, if you can. It's exciting. And then I would say the next one, you need to add it with that? You need to add it with that?
I don't think so.
And then for the
You just keep doing it.
exactly, keep
Yeah.
doing it.
You're gonna
Okay, your
persistence. First summit.
Thank you.
It's gonna fall apart. There's gonna be things that go wrong. Like we talk about with our advanced students, the first event you go to, you mess up, you don't fall down, but like things go wrong,
of course,
because you don't know what you don't know. So you can learn everything you can learn from all the people. And honestly, if you do, it'll cripple you. You won't even get started because you'll know of all the possible things that could go wrong and you'll be trying to fix them. It's such a better learning experience and learning lesson. It is a permanent lesson that you will learn when you have it happen to you. Tell me, when in your life have you learned a lesson from someone else more poignantly than when you made the mistake yourself? Right? It's just so unusual to have that be the case. Most of us learn our own lessons much more because we feel the pain, the sting, the memory of maybe that client. I'll never forget. I had a client file a Better Business Bureau claim, and they were so upset, and we had tried to talk to them, and it was just so heartbreaking because I didn't want to do the wrong thing. I didn't want to affect them in a negative way. I was trying to do what I was supposed to do, and I never again made that mistake.
Right. Ever. It's a learning experience. And that's the good part about it.
Exactly.
Learning experience. And the persistence part.
The people you're working with, they will be okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to ruin their lives. Listen, we are not doctors, right? We are not going to lose someone's life because we messed up in a challenge or a summit.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's
not
completely opposite. Yeah. And the persistence part, before we go on to the next one, persistence in the awkward stage, because it feels so awkward, because it's so easy to get frustrated, because it's a natural thing for us to just want it to be over. Persistence is key. We tell our students all the time, come to everything in the initial stage. Come to every group class, every party, every single experience that we have. Come to everything. Full immersion in your first year.
Moving to a country,
and then you can do what you want to do.
Yeah.
However, during that full immersion time, do not stop.
Right.
Go all out. Go 100%. Push forward. If you hit a roadblock, get around it, go under it, go over it, figure it out, burst through it if you have to.
Yeah.
But continue going, because if you do not, you won't get through it.
Yeah.
You just won't get the trudge.
So the thing is, if the goal doesn't pull you, nothing can push you.
Right.
If your vision isn't pulling you forward, nothing can push you through that awkward stage and get you out of that comfort zone, because you will always fall back to the comfort zone. It is comfortable. It is familiar. It is where our subconscious likes for us to be, because it's safe. Yeah. And so you have to have a big enough vision. It has to be big enough that it just propels you forward and keeps you moving, that you can keep your eye on the prize. And a lot of times you need a coach or a community of people who are pushing for you, cheering you on, your spouse, your husband, your wife, somebody who is in your corner that is helping you remember the big picture. Because even if you're a big picture thinker, I'm a big picture thinker, I'm a CD, I'm always thinking in the big picture though. Even when you're a big picture thinker, when you go through these phases, it's easy to get stuck and it's easy to forget where you're going. You get your head down and you're starting to work on these little teeny menial tasks. And instead of keeping your eyes up and realizing it's okay, I think of it this way. I loved watching William learn how to walk and stand and all those things. So when he was a tiny baby, he was learning how to stand up, pulling himself up onto the table. He would bump his head sometimes, but we had a glass table. So this was actually kind of cool. There were toys on top of the table that he could see, little things that I would put up there. So he would have somewhere to try and reach. Why would he want to stand up if there's nothing on top of the table for him to look at? So I would put things up there and he would go for them. He would hit his head and he wouldn't make a sound. He would just fall down and get back up and start pulling himself back up. And he would bonk his head. He wouldn't hit it hard. It was just a little bit. And then he'd sit down and then he'd get around it. But the thing is, if he didn't know there was something to look for or to grab or to there was no goal.
He never would have tried.
And then the best part is, as soon as that goal had been attained, he would find another goal. There was something else. I mean, babies are so pure in that way that they are who we are inside. We naturally gravitate toward goals. We have to have something that we're fixed on. So when we get to that fixed thing, we should already have had a new one.
Right.
So,
Right.
because like you said, once you get to that natural use stage, you get complacent unless you knew you were getting close to what you were supposed to accomplish and you had a future plan.
Yeah.
And again, that's where a coach comes in or mentor
Extremely
comes
important.
in.
We'll talk
teacher.
more about that too, because
Yeah.
that's underlined.
But those are so important.
It's so important.
Because you won't get through it
Yeah.
without the right vision.
Yeah.
to pull you.
Especially when you enter the conscious stage.
Yeah.
It's very true. At that particular time, if you don't have a coach and you have gotten past the awkward stage and things are getting easier and now it's making more sense and you're starting to kind of get traction, that is the time when you need to get somebody to help you go further.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah.
Because at this point now you're in the conscious stage, but you're not quite sure conscious of just how far you can go.
Mhm.
And you need somebody to help you take you there. Because once you're in that stage, now your mindset is on all the little things you got to get done and
Yeah.
how you're going to do it.
And it's easy to
You're
get lost in them.
It's so easy because you're prioritizing your time. Things are backing up a little bit sometimes in your business because you have so many people coming in wanting what you have, and you're like, "Wow, this is great! This is great. What's next?
Yeah.
How do I scale this?
Yeah.
Because I now know what I'm doing, but do I know how to continue doing it?
Right.
And which way do I go now?" And then that's when you start to feel lost. So in the conscious stage with my students, I used to tell them all the time, it's so important here that you feel like you're still climbing, that you don't feel like you just got it. You got to feel like you're climbing. So I'm going to give you more challenges because there's going to be more challenges coming along anyway.
Exactly.
I'm going to push you harder. I'm going to ask more of you. And in doing so, you're going to climb higher and faster because of it, because of those challenges and push that I'm giving you.
Yeah.
So
You
keep
need
that in
someone
mind.
who can see more and be for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so in that conscious stage, be excited about that, revel in that. It feels good because you know that you're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And guys, you may not know this, but you stay in the awkward stage a lot of times. We tell our students, especially, about 2 years. About 2 years, you start to you feel that awkward stage. But go to year 3, you're conscious, you're aware. Year 4 is natural. Year 4, you could do any dance you want pretty much easily. Now, granted, year 1, you could dance.
Mhm.
Year 2, you could dance really well. Year 3, you're even better. Year 4, however, it's natural. The basics are so easy now for you.
Yeah. And it's what, I mean, that brings to mind what John Maxwell says, that when he was younger, I think he read that if you focus 1 hour a day on a single topic every day, in 5 years, you'll become an expert. And I think that's
Exactly right.
exactly to what you said.
Right.
Yeah.
Because our students, when they come in, a lot of times we would see them for 45-minute sessions once a week for one-on-one coaching with them.
Yeah. So I will tell you though,
Yeah.
my CD side put up a lot of resistance when you said 2 years. I was like, awkward for 2 years. You wrong. You are wrong. Man, that is just my disc. We'll talk about this one of these times.
It's funny.
So much resistance.
Side note. I used to teach Kathleen when we first met pole dancing, and I told
That
her
was a
this.
great
I told her this, and she was like, "I'll get it in 6 months." I said, "You just might.
Challenge
You just
exists.
might."
Yeah.
At the same time,
I
though,
take everything as
I
challenge.
explained to her. I said, "Awkward doesn't mean you can't do things. It doesn't mean that you aren't good at what you do, or that it's not coming to you quickly or naturally like you want it to. It just means that if you were to go out and dance this with someone who knew way more than you would still feel like you didn't know as much as they did. You just aren't at that level that they are. So it's still even so for the person who knows more than you, in their arms, you feel awkward.
I think the other part too is if I were to walk away from it for 5 years, I would not come back with it.
Correct. Because you haven't owned it yet. It's not inside of you.
Exactly.
It's not a part of you.
Which
Natural means you don't think.
I would have argued against, but it depends on how much repetition
Right.
too. Like if I were there 3-5 days a week for 4 or 5 hours a
Yeah.
day, maybe I could walk away before 2 years and have it forever.
Right.
Because the amount of time, and that's the same thing, like John Maxwell said, 1 hour a day for 5 years. Well, you could truncate that and spend like 10 hours a day for a lot shorter period of time and become an expert. For sure.
Exactly.
And that's why
Exactly.
college, right? College
Right.
and PhDs and whatnot.
And that's kind of where it breaks down to.
It's just
So
about time, not like
Mhm.
calendar time, but hours, like
Right.
real man hours, life hours of this skill,
right.
whatever it
Right.
is.
And
Business.
lastly, the natural use stage. Most people want to get here. Most people are super excited to get here. And what happens is once they arrive here, they have
problem.
completed what they set out to
Yeah,
complete.
you
And
arrived.
now what we always heard was, I say always because I've not ever heard somebody not say this, they felt they plateaued.
Yes. Yes.
The question is now what?
Yes.
What's next?
Yes.
I've got this. It feels really good. You tell me I've got this, and what do I do now? And
You see it in careers a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You see people, I've experienced it. We've all had times where, you get good, you're in the groove, you're great, but now you're not going anywhere. And you start to realize it after a while.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, I'm just really good at this and nothing's changing.
Mm-hmm.
I keep seeing it's like the same day over and over again because you're doing a great job. You're helping a lot of people, but it's the same. It just becomes repetitive.
Yeah. And I used to look at that as such a negative thing when I first started teaching. And I had changed it around my 4th year of teaching. All of a sudden, one day it dawned on me that they said I plateaued. And I thought, well, plateau is flat land. Isn't flat land great for running? So I told them, I said, okay, now that it's natural, I'm going to have you dance in ways that you haven't danced before. So that way you can feel like you're learning something new every single time. But it's going to be natural. You're going to pick it up really fast and go through the process even faster because now we're catching up. We're building on speed. Now you can run. Now we can get through this process with every new thing so much faster because now you got it. And now you're running. All of a sudden, boom, you're going to hit an incline.
Absolutely.
And you're going to slow down
Yes.
because the new thing happens. And that usually was when they graduated from one level to the next level.
Mhm.
So that's what you have to think about. In the natural stage, go full out, go 100%, run as fast as you can. Get good at selling, get great at communications, get great at doing webinars if that's your thing, get great at doing summits, just be amazing at it.
Coaching, if you're coaching, get a full roster of clients and just coach the heck out of them, get results for yourself.
Go ham sandwich.
While you can, because at some point you're going to want to scale.
Yes.
And you're going to have to start teaching new people how to coach.
Boom.
And you don't know how to teach people how to coach because you've never taught anyone how to coach. So you're back at square one.
Back at square
you're
one.
Going to feel like you need that burst of confidence, that period of time of confidence to make it through that beginning stage again, because it's going to be crushing. It's going to be like, wait, I can't get these people to coach. I'm coaching. I've coached a lot of people. How come I can't get them to coach people? I don't understand. And it starts back at the beginning, just like at the very first.
So
I mean, I've had clients where I couldn't get them results. And I'm like, how come I can't get them results? I know how to get people results. I've gotten results. Why can't I get them results? And you go through that and it's going to be the same.
It's so true. A quick story really quick. When Kathleen and I were working at a dance studio before all this stuff hit, she was my boss. I went from teaching her when she was a student to her being my boss. Isn't that great? I love it. Well, when she left on leave to have the baby, I stepped up and I became the supervisor for about 11 years. Yeah, 11 years. I was running.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I was speed. I was the man. I was
the
top teacher. I could do anything. I could dance anything.
Anywhere.
I could teach anything. You couldn't tell me anything.
Take anyone to any competition.
And I decided I wanted more. So I wanted to become a supervisor. I wanted to start teaching people how to do what I did. And man, was that climb hard for me. I don't use the word hard very often, but it was difficult. It was a challenge. I came every night going, how do you do it, honey? How do you do this? She said, and she coached me through it. She was my coach. She helped me get through it till I got better and better. And eventually I became one of the top supervisors in the area. And it was great. So anyhow, the company actually, I'm being modest.
Number one.
I was number one in the company. So she's a really good teacher. So overall, when I hit that, if I wouldn't have known the learning process, if I wouldn't have known what to expect and what I was going to go through, it would have beat me down so much more. Yeah. And it beat me down pretty hard.
It did. And he is very aware of the learning process.
Yes. I'm extremely aware of it. So, so for me,
but there's always emotions because we're all people and we know we're affecting people. So business is always people. You will not find a business that does not involve people because people are who give you money. Banks don't give you money.
People have problems.
Right.
We solve them. They give you money for it. That's kind of how it works.
That's
right?
Business in a nutshell. There's business school 101. And when we are dealing with people, we deal with our emotions and their emotions. And it's normal to feel those feelings of inadequacy or I'm failing them. Like, I don't want to do that. And all that says is that you have a good heart and that you should be where you are. That's all that says.
And that's why you need a coach, because that's what she did for me. So I come home feeling exactly like that.
Yeah.
And she would explain it to me. And that kind of brings us to the last little bit is why coaching is so important.
Yeah.
And why, if you do want to try something new, if you want a guaranteed growth goal, you need a coach.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I
really
firmly believe in learning how to play the guitar at home, but you're not going to be held responsible by yourself.
It's the same thing as going to the gym. You know, you get a personal trainer. I was a musician for decades, and I almost never had, I almost always had a private teacher.
Yeah.
I'm going double negatives there. Yeah, I almost always had a private teacher, if not more than one private teacher. So I couldn't imagine living in a world where I didn't have private instruction. When I got to become a dance instructor, I realized how many people have never had one-on-one instruction. But I also realized how many people have, and they don't realize they did. Most people who play golf or tennis have taken lessons at some point, private lessons. Archery. Yeah. I didn't think that was that popular. Yes, archery. Music, if you've ever taken piano lessons or played an instrument, those are just some. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about coach, like a football coach or a baseball coach, because it's not always one-on-one attention. That's one on a group. That's like having a classroom full of students where they're paying attention to a lot of people. It is not the same at all. They're both beneficial in different ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they are not the same, because when you have one-on-one, you know this, the times that your parents spent with you one-on-one meant so much.
Yeah.
It's so focused. Or the time that you spend with your husband or your wife one-on-one, looking at each other. It's so different than when we're in a group of people. No, they're not better or worse than each other. They're just different.
Yeah.
And the individual attention, though, is what really gets you to focus on your own goals and get you moving forward toward them.
Yes.
Holding you accountable, just like that good personal trainer, not a personal trainer who you call and say, hey, I'm not coming today, I'm really tired. And they're like, okay, see you next week. Get rid of that personal trainer, find a new one, because they're not going to get you to your goals. You don't need someone who's going to roll over in front of you. You need someone who's going to push you and challenge you and say things that you don't necessarily want to hear, and, take you places that you've never been before, because they're telling you what you've never heard before.
True.
Yeah.
And this is how it works, you guys. The learning process is there for everyone. It's natural. It's how it goes. There's no beating it. There's no changing it.
There's only understanding it and accepting it.
Exactly. And in that process, knowing that you're going to go through it, know that help is required. It's not something that you feel like you can get whenever you need to. No, you need it eventually. It's gonna have to have help. There's no way to climb the mountain. No one climbs Everest alone, right?
You get a Sherpa.
You get a Sherpa. You don't get to go up without a Sherpa.
No.
Flat out. So
loud.
Exactly. So in order for you to reach your goals, understand the process, accept the process, embrace the process, and enjoy the process, because it is natural. And when it's all said and done, find someone that you connect with, that really motivates you, that encourages you, and also cares about your growth and development, so that way you can move forward.
Yeah,
you know
it's super important that you have the right chemistry with someone that you're working one-on-one with.
Yeah.
And just like life, right?
Yeah, in dance business, we made sure we paired people with their teachers specifically by personalities and by
if you
abilities.
don't, you'll quit.
Yeah,
you will. You'll quit. You'll quit the teacher. You'll quit the coach. You'll quit the sport, whatever. Until you find someone. But if you're persistent enough, some people just need to find it right away.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no matter what, find a group, find people around you to support you too, because that's especially through that awkward phase. That's where you really need the cheerleaders and the rah-rah.
That's right. You can do it. You
can.
are enough. Light up your life.
Yep. Light up your life. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Bye.